This is Progressive Secular Pundit Politics. As promised, I'm going to cover the first Democratic debate. I'll cover the second Democratic debate, but here are my thoughts on the first Democratic debate, which was hosted by MSNBC. It was on June 26th, 2 nights ago. So here are my thoughts. So there were 10 candidates on stage. A lot of pundits and commentators have compared this to being like the little kids table because I've only seen it once. I have not rewatched the first debate. I'm going to cover the second one as well, but maybe if I rewatch it, I'll update my thoughts. But here are my thoughts on this is a little bit late, a day late. June 20. It was obviously on June 26th, 9. I believe it was 9 to 11, but 2 days, June 28th. So here are my thoughts on who did well, who did bad. Obviously, the only front runner in those 10 candidates was Elizabeth Warren. So she was kind of the only, top front runner candidates. The only top 5 candidates. That only big candidate was really Elizabeth Warren. She used to be. I mean, in January, about like February through May, she was polling at like 8%, 9%. She was polling really, really low. Whenever she first announced her campaign, she was doing pretty good. Then she kind of went really, really low, and then kind of recently she's been releasing a lot of policy proposals, and now she's polling pretty high. She's actually in 3rd place. And, I mean, listen, here are my thoughts on Elizabeth Warren. I'm not a huge fan of her. I think she's a good candidate. I think that she's kind of progressive. Listen, she supported Hillary Clinton in 2016 primary, which I think that for any progressive candidate to do, that's 100% wrong. That proves that you're not a true progressive by supporting Hillary Clinton, a centrist corporatist, over Bernie Sanders. But I feel like she is kind of progressive. She supports Medicare for all, supports free college, supports the $15 living wage. So she certainly is someone. She has like one foot in the progressive lane, the other foot in the centrist lane. So she's kind of like the bridge between centrist and progressives in the Democratic Party. One thing about Elizabeth Warren is that she's pretty weak on foreign policy. She has some good Wall Street policy. I think that progressives like myself admit that Elizabeth Warren has really good Wall Street policy and taxation policy. However, she's lacking in foreign policy. But Tulsi Gabbard is the one that's really good about foreign policy. So there was Elizabeth Warren. What are my thoughts on how she did during the debate? I think Elizabeth Warren did pretty good. She knew what she was talking about whenever she was talking about proposals. Her proposal for Medicare for all, she explained it. She kind of jokes that she's like a nerdy professor because she's very smart. She knows her stuff really well. So she did pretty good during the debate. The problem is that Elizabeth Warren, of course, she's being like the only big candidate on that stage. And, I wonder if it was rigged because Elizabeth Warren is like, I wonder if Elizabeth Warren wasn't there, nobody would really watch because nobody really cares about who those candidates are. But, Elizabeth Warren, she got a lot of time in the first hour and a half, and she should get a lot of time because she's the front runner, right? She's the most, of all the candidates on that stage, she's pulling the most. She's way bigger than Cory Booker or Julian Castro or someone like that, or Amy Klobuchar. But, so I feel like the Democratic debate, I don't have any problems with them giving more time to smaller candidates, but, whenever they give too much time, that's why I have a problem whenever they're taking time away from Elizabeth Warren, because in the second half, she got, absolutely no time. So I feel like Elizabeth Warren did pretty good. She nailed it. She didn't do as good as I thought she would, because she did not get enough time in the second half, but I feel like Elizabeth Warren did pretty well. So then we have Tulsi Gabbard. At the beginning, she was not very aggressive. At the beginning, I was thinking, oh my god, she's not doing that well. And I want to see her do well because I support Tulsi Gabbard. I think she's a good candidate. She has good foreign policy experience. She wants to end the endless wars. So she wants to end the war, so I think that's good. But whenever she went against Tim Ryan, that was really good. She was really aggressive. She went against Tim Ryan on Afghanistan. Tim Ryan, he's just a complete moron. He didn't understand what he was talking about. So I think that Tulsi Gabbard kind of nailed it at the end. And in my opinion, she was actually the winner of that first debate. well, not of all the candidates, not the winner, but of those 10 candidates, I think Tulsi Gabbard was definitely the winner of the debate. So, Tulsi Gabbard, yeah, she definitely won. She did really good. And after the debate, she was actually the most searched candidate, was Tulsi Gabbard, because people are starting to see on how good she did whenever she went up against Tim Ryan during the debate. So, those are the candidates I thought did good. Another candidate that I thought did pretty good was Bill de Blasio. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a Bill de Blasio fan. I'm not saying he did good because I'm no fan of him. He says that he's a progressive, that he's super lefty, you know. But in reality, he supported Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders in the 2016 election. So he's really not a super progressive candidate. But Bill de Blasio, I thought he did pretty good. He nailed it. He did surprisingly good. Which again, this is a candidate who's polling at like 0%. I feel like he's going to go to 3%, but then again, 0 to 3. I mean, it's not really like that much. But for a candidate that's polling at 0%, Bill de Blasio did pretty good. He did a pretty lasting effect. So, yeah, I think Bill de Blasio certainly did good. And whenever the commentator said, raise your hand if you support eliminating private insurance, the only two candidates who raised their hands were Elizabeth Warren and Bill de Blasio. So, I mean, listen, I'm still not supporting Bill de Blasio. I do not think he's a progressive candidate because he supported Hillary Clinton. But certainly, I mean, he does have some good ideas when it comes to Medicare for all and eliminating private insurance. So, on to some other candidates. Some candidates I thought did good, but not great. They did okay. Were Julian Castro. He got a ton of time. I think he got the second most time. I think Cory Booker got the first most time, and I think Julian Castro got the second most time out of all the candidates. He did all right. I mean, I don't think he necessarily hurt his campaign. I don't think he helped it either. It kind of just did okay. Didn't really have a lasting effect, but he kind of just did decent. Kind of did the same old politician routine, right? I think Cory Booker did okay. I mean, I think he did alright. I mean, he's a centrist guy, you know, Cory Booker. He's kind of similar to Kamala Harris. In my opinion, he did kind of the same as Julian Castro. Didn't help his campaign, but didn't hurt it either. Even though he's pulling out like 2 to 3%. So, he's a pretty low candidate. People might, I mean, listen, you know, he's probably like 6th or 7th, so he's still in the top 10. But, like, people would think that he would do better than he actually did. But Julian Castro and Cory Booker definitely got more screen time than Elizabeth Warren in the second half, at least. So, those are those candidates. Jay Inslee. Now, I thought that whenever Jay Inslee was a man of very few words, he actually had the least time on the debates. John Delaney. Freaking John Delaney had more fucking screen time than Jay Inslee. And he's actually, Jay Inslee is pulling higher than John Delaney. Jay Inslee, he's supported by Bill Nye. He kind of got the Bill Nye the Science Guy endorsement. Jay Inslee, it seems that he's he's kind of like a single issue type candidate, which I think that single issue type candidates, especially for smaller candidates like Jay Inslee, he's certainly not a huge candidate, but he's certainly not like as minor as John Delaney. I think that it's important for Jay Inslee. Listen, I'm not a supporter of him, but I think that's important. I think that he has good proposals on climate change. He seems that he's really the only candidate that's really going to tackle climate change as his main issue. But he did not get enough screen time. Again, I said that he got the less amount of time than everyone else. But whenever he did speak, which was rare, what he did say was very good. So I think that he did good, but he's not exactly that memorable of a candidate. You know, after the debates, this press coverage, they talked about Tulsi Gabbard a lot. They talked about Elizabeth Warren. They talked about Julian Castro, Cory Booker, but it did not really seem like Jay Inslee really made a lasting impression on them. So, yeah. So, let's get to some of the candidates who, in my opinion, did not do very good at all. Tim Ryan. Now, he did alright at the beginning. At the beginning, he was doing pretty good, especially for a very small candidate like Tim Ryan, an Ohio congressman. But whenever he debated Tulsi Gabbard, that's just whenever it got really bad for Tim Ryan. Tulsi Gabbard handed his ass to him. I mean, Tim Ryan was just doing terrible, and then Tulsi Gabbard just absolutely handed his ass to him, won the debate over Iraq war, over the Afghanistan war, and over, foreign policy. So, definitely, he got his ass handed to him by Tulsi Gabbard, but, he didn't do extremely bad, but he was decent. Amy Klobuchar, oh my god, I hate this candidate. I mean, she is just like Hillary Clinton on steroids. I mean, she's like a 1980s politician. Man, she's just a centrist. She's against free college. There's absolutely nothing to her. No charisma. No anything. Oh my god, just a completely boring classical politician that we've seen. Now, she's in my, probably did pretty bad, and that's probably gonna hurt her campaign. I mean, her campaign is already dead, but hurt her already dead campaign. Then we go to Beto O'Rourke. Beto, where do I start with Beto? He did absolutely terrible. I mean, he was nervous the entire time. He went up against, Bill de Blasio, I believe, I think he went up against Bill de Blasio. And Beto O'Rourke is a pure corporatist, a pure centrist. He thinks that he's a super progressive guy, but he's actually not. He was nervous the entire time. This was just terrible for him. Beto O'Rourke used to be in the top 3, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Beto O'Rourke. And now he's like going really, really down. So his campaign is plummeting, Beto my stork. So he's a pretty terrible candidate. And finally, last but definitely least, was John Delaney. I mean, John Delaney is a corporate moron. He thinks that, he's tries to paint himself as this corporate centrist, really moderate guy. It's just so annoying on how he tries to say, look at me, look at how corporate I am. I'm a centrist, I'm a moderate, I'm against Medicare for all. I mean, he just did terrible. He was a laughable, he was a meme. Funny thing is, and the sad thing is that he actually thought that he did really good, but in reality, he did absolutely terrible, and he thinks that he's going to be pulling at 20%, and he thinks that all of a sudden everyone's going to love him. So, there are all 10 of the candidates. I thought Elizabeth Warren did good. Tulsi knocked it out of the ballpark. Bill de Blasio, he did better than the average person would expect him to do. Cory Booker and Julian Castro, meh. Jay Inslee, he did good, however, he did not get enough time. And he was also the one that proposed to the DNC that the DNC should have an entire debate just dedicated to climate change. So we'll see how that will work out for him. Amy Klobuchar, she did absolutely terrible. John Delaney, Beto O'Rourke, and I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Hold on. Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, Bill de Blasio, Julian Castro, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, John Delaney, Jay Inslee, Amy Klobuchar, John Delaney, Beto O'Rourke, and Tim Ryan. Yeah, Tim Ryan, he did all right at the beginning, but then, Tulsi, I already said that earlier. So, those are my thoughts on the 10 candidates on how they performed. Also, kind of, Trump had to respond. There was a bit of a technical difficulty, and they had to go to a commercial during the first debate, and Trump's like, look at this MSNBC fake news. He had to respond to that. It's kind of funny, but yeah, those are my thoughts on the first debate. Listen, in the 2008 Democratic primary, there was 8 candidates on one stage. That was a lot. To have 10 candidates on one stage. I mean, that's pretty harsh, pretty tough to have 10 candidates on one stage. And there's over 2 nights, so it's not like there's 2 debates. We have to see 2 rounds of candidates over 2 nights, split up. So, yeah, I'll do my coverage on the second night. Certainly, second night was more intense with the Kamala Harris versus Joe Biden. I actually kind of like to see Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden be on the same stage, see how that will work out. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So again, those are my thoughts on the first night of the Democratic debate. And peace out, guys.